a section repository and a student repository. Let's create a controller so that we can invoke a couple of commands, right, to create some sections, some students from an endpoint, right? So let's create here a student controller, so student controller, and the student controller, right, is just going to be exposed to a URL endpoint, and what I'd like to be able to do here something like public list student, and let's maybe create some students, and maybe this would be student Alice, new student, and say Alice.setName Alice, and maybe create another one, student Bob, new student, and then would be Bob.setName. Oh, that's not what I meant. student set name Bob. There we go. And then we can use the repository, and to get a hold of the repository, we can just inject it in here, right? We can say get a hold of the repository, so it'll be the student repository, and we can auto-wire it in here, and now we can save each one of these. We can say student repository dot save Alice, and same thing with Bob, student repository dot save Bob. Okay, and then we can maybe just return these. This might be students, so it's an array of students which contains Alice and Bob, and then we can just return students. So this is maybe come back as an array of students, something like that. Yes. All right. So to try this out, we're going to expose this to a endpoint, and we'll call this students create. Okay. Well, let's see what that does. Let's restart the server. And let's try and hit that URL. So it'll be, let's see, localhost 8080, and this was students/create. All right, notice that it comes back with Alice and Bob with IDs in there. Notice that they have no sections whatsoever. And if we go to the database and we retrieve all the students in here, students, where are they? Sections and students, we have Alice and Bob inserted. Yes? Excellent. So we have that. Let's do something similar, but for sections, right? So we can probably just copy this students and call it, section controller, and the section controller would use instead the section repository. Repository. So this would be section, and we are saving. Let's create a couple of sections. So this would be maybe I'm going to return an array of sections. So create some sections, and I'm going to create section 1. And section 1, the title would be section 1, and I'm going to save section 1. Okay? And maybe I can copy the same thing and create section 2, and set the section name to 2, and then save section 2. And I'm going to return an array of sections with section 1 and section 2. Sections and sections. Make sense? Right? And I'm going to expose it to sections create. All right, so let's restart the server. And here I'm going to say localhost 8080/sections create. All right, so we got sections and section 1, section 2, and we have two students as well. Notice that neither one of them know about each other, right? Notice that section 1 has no sections have students, and no students have sections, right? They don't know anything about each other. All right, so let's focus on maybe creating some relationship between these two, right? So let's take a look at that.